In a zombie-infested post-apocalyptic world, is the sea safer than the land? Last season, the zombie virus broke out in Los Angeles. In the pursuit of eradicating zombies, the military resorted to using artillery to destroy the entire city. Under Victor's shelter, Travis' family boarded Victor's private yacht. Victor informed them that the ship was equipped with abundant supplies, enough to sustain them on their journey to another major city. One day, cries for help reached them from the sea. With uncertainty about what to do, Madison finds Victor and asks Victor to stop the boat and save the men or they will drown. However, Victor showed reluctance, suggesting they could go back to the shore if they were afraid of drowning. He believed that offering them shelter already demonstrated enough kindness, and they should be grateful. Travis has seen the people who are calling for help. His daughter was telling Travis that we had to help them, and then Travis came into the cab. Victor said we should get away from land and away from other people. Madison is still asking Victor to stop the boat, but Victor is a businessman and obviously knows more about the rules of survival in the post-apocalyptic world. Victor's attitude is also very tough. Stopping the boat can be done, but only people can get off the boat, not get on. It's rare for Travis to agree with Victor. Frustrated, Madison had no choice but to leave. Victor puts it in third gear and moves forward. He just wants to get rid of these people who are begging for help as soon as possible. In the evening, Alicia listened to various distress calls on the radio. She stumbled upon a channel playing music and a charismatic man's voice who engaged her with seductive words. Alicia found herself drawn to him. Every day after that, Alicia used the radio to chat with this man named Jack. Jack says he's on a boat with his brother. They quickly became acquainted, and Alicia felt like she was falling in love, dropping her guard completely. One day, Jack told Alicia that their small boat was damaged and they had to return to the land. Alicia was worried about Jack encountering zombies on land and anxiously asked about their location, even revealing her own location to Jack. Alicia, with an anxious face, finds Travis and says that someone needs help, and tells him about Jack and the others. Victor's temper flared immediately. He had a bad feeling about this. He scolded the group, reminding them that the boat was his, and the people outside were more dangerous than the zombies. Others thought Victor was being overly sensitive. Alicia could only communicate with Jack through the radio, explaining that she was helpless to assist him. Jack reassured her, saying it would be alright, and they would meet soon. Soon after, they encountered a sinking ship. Everyone was stunned, as this clearly wasn't a natural disaster but a human-made catastrophe. At that moment, their cruise ship detected another yacht rapidly approaching them. Victor had no choice but to alert everyone to quickly leave, fearing that it could be the same group responsible for the sinking ship incident.
They're coming! Run!
Victor led the group to shake off the pursuit. However, the boat encountered a problem when Travis inspected it and found that the air intake was blocked by zombies. Repairing the boat would take a day's time. From a distance, they saw numerous scattered suitcases on a nearby island. Daniel decided to go to the island with 3 young people to collect supplies, which seemed to be the wreckage of a crashed plane. Yet there was no one here, which puzzled them. They split up to search for supplies, with Daniel primarily looking for antibiotics for his daughter, Ophelia. Nick found a stylish captain's outfit and tried it on. Travis' son, Chris, wandered away from the group and stumbled upon the wreckage of the plane's cabin. Chris picks up a weapon and walks in. Inside, he encountered zombified passengers, but they were securely restrained by their seatbelts and posed no immediate threat. However, Chris came across a severely injured man who begged for help. When Chris finally helped him down, he realized the man's injuries were beyond survivable in this apocalyptic world. With great distress, Chris had to put the man out of his misery. Meanwhile, Daniel and the others gathered supplies but couldn't find Chris. Daniel was about to look for Chris when he realized that a large number of zombies were surrounding him. It turns out that all the passengers have been turned into zombies. Daniel fired 2 shots and retreated with a stranger, a woman he encountered. Upon hearing the gunshots, Chris and Alicia rushed to the scene to help. Several people fought and retreated at the same time. Although the speed of the zombies was very slow, the number was just too much, and several people were forced into a desperate situation. However, just as they were about to be cornered, a blood-covered man appeared and saved them. Surprisingly, the zombies didn't attack him, and the savior was Nick. It turns out that just now, Nick was searching for supplies and saw a zombie inside the pit with crabs crawling all over it, but he didn't realize that his foot slipped and Nick fell down. Luckily, Nick had a dagger with him and killed the zombie before Nick could catch his breath. another zombie fell from the top.
Oh shit!
Nick survives, but is covered in zombie blood, but he discovers that the zombies see him as one of their own kind. They return to the ship with the strange woman and her injured husband. Alicia and Madison wanted to help the woman, but Victor intervened, resolute in his belief that being a soft-hearted person was not viable in the apocalypse. Despite Travis and his family advocating for the woman, Victor was firm in his stance. Ultimately, Travis suggested they could tow the strangers along, and Victor, in consideration of Travis' effort in repairing the yacht, reluctantly agreed. They provided some essential supplies to the woman, but she showed no gratitude and instead displayed a hint of resentment. As evening approached, Victor pondered but stood firm in his principles. He decisively went to the stern of the boat and cut the yacht's rope. That night, Ophelia and Chris were talking on the deck. A small boat approached them, seeking help. On the boat were two men and a pregnant woman. Chris picked up his gun, vigilant, and called for his father, Travis. Hearing the shouts, the rest of the group came to the deck, armed with weapons. The woman seemed to have a severe leg injury, and Madison hurriedly approached to assist her and take her to a room for rest. Meanwhile, Travis and the others were questioning the two men. Victor was also drawn to the commotion and peered out from the second floor. Sensing something amiss, Victor returns to the cabin and opens his safe, only to find that the gun's magazine has disappeared. Earlier, others had discovered his gun and, to be cautious, removed the ammunition. Victor can't help but curse a few times. At this time Alicia also walked out. She only felt that the voice outside was very familiar. Wasn't it Jack's voice?
Jack?
Suddenly the man attacked Travis. Madison was quickly subdued by the woman, who then tied her up. Outside, the others were also overpowered, and Alicia's still trying to move Jack with her words. The man seemed to know everyone's name and their details, most likely because of the information Alicia had shared. At that moment the man spots Victor on the surface and Victor escapes. The man tells Jack to shoot Victor, but Jack is obviously not tough enough and he has to do it himself.
Did you get him?
If I didn't, the hypothermia will.
Victor has always had his secrets, and will he finally survive at sea? Although Jack and Reed took control of the yacht, Victor had taken the boat's keys with him. Reed threatened to kill Chris unless Travis handed over the keys. To protect his son, Travis claimed he could start the yacht without the keys. Reed ordered the pregnant woman to stay behind and keep an eye on them while he took Travis to start the yacht. With Jack holding Alicia hostage, Madison, emotional about her daughter being taken away, was comforted by Alicia.
I'm okay. I trust him. I brought this on us. I can make it better.
Jack then took Alicia out on the deck and untied her. Jack told Alicia that he didn't want to hurt anyone. Jack revealed that they were just a scouting party, and their leader was Connor. He assured Alicia that Connor was a good person, and things would be peaceful when he arrived. Now Jack needs to inform Connor via the radio, and he asks Alicia to accompany him to find it. Alicia chose to trust Jack and helped him find the radio. Jack notified Connor to send someone to take over. In the cabin, Madison noticed Nick's absence and asked Daniel if he could loosen the ropes. Daniel asked Maddie to distract the woman. Madison engaged in a conversation with the woman about pregnancy. As for the missing Nick, it turns out that Victor had let him escape when the group boarded the boat. Nick swam to shore and saw a helicopter flying overhead. There were numerous tents, but no people around. Boldly, Nick walked up to a zombie and lured it into one of the tents. After killing the zombie, he dissected it and covered himself in its blood. Nick covered his body with zombie blood and mimicked the movements of the zombies, allowing him to blend perfectly into the horde. Following the address provided by Victor, Nick came to this location to find a person named Luis. Luis recognized Nick when he saw Victor's letter and no longer doubted his intentions. Originally, Luis was supposed to take Victor to seek refuge in Mexico. However, their plans were disrupted when the yacht was hijacked by others. Meanwhile, Jack's leader, Connor, finally boarded the yacht and seemed pleased with it. Connor ordered Reed to send Madison and the others ashore and then return with the yacht. However, Connor took Travis and Alicia with him. After Connor's departure, Reed had no intention of following Connor's orders and planned to kill them. Just then the men said there was an unknown yacht in the sea, and the men immediately went on the alert. It was Nick and Luis. Luis took out a .98K rifle and shot the woman holding a sniper rifle first. then killed another man. Reed tried to investigate outside but was overpowered by Daniel, who took away Reed's shotgun. Madison also swiftly stabbed Reed's waist with a knife. Chris rushed forward, intending to kill Reed, but Madison stopped him. Unable to bring herself to kill a living person, Madison also saw Nick in the distance. In the distant sea, Victor let go of the leaking yacht and lay still in the water. Victor will freeze to death if he doesn't drown. Madison came to Victor's side, and it became apparent that the people on the yacht did not like Victor, considering him too cold-blooded. Reed, despite his injury, continued to spew threats towards Daniel, but Daniel remained unmoved, having experienced far more cruelty in his life. Daniel found useful information in Reed's words. Reed was Connor's brother, and while Connor didn't kill people during their robberies, Reed was merciless. Reed also mentioned that Connor had 5 boats, which led Daniel and Madison to quickly locate the place on the radar. Using Reed as a bargaining chip, they could potentially exchange Travis and Alicia. Uncharacteristically, Victor agreed to join the risky plan. As they approached the dock, Connor anticipated his brother's return, but instead, he received Madison's radio call. Madison proposed to exchange hostages in an hour. Connor agreed, stating that if his brother was unharmed, the exchange could happen. Just when they thought the exchange was going to go smoothly, gunshots rang out. Chris backed away slowly with the gun in his hand. He had always blamed himself. If he had shot decisively to keep these people off the boat, his father would not have been taken away. Upon entering the house, they found Reed dead. Louise commented that there were no chips left. However, Daniel came up with a plan. Person in the show was a carrier of the virus, and regardless of the cause of death, they would turn into zombies. They put a hood on Zombie Reed, tied him up, and brought him to the dock for the exchange. Connor brings Travis in, while Alicia is not imprisoned because of Jack. Madison unties Reed's hands and pushes him forward in a hostage exchange, but just as Connor removes his hood, he sees a horrible face. The zombie viciously bites into Connor's body. On the other hand, Alicia ran to the highest point of the ship and saw her mother and Travis struggling with Connor's men. Jack followed Alicia, trying to convince her to stay, claiming her family was selfish and would eventually abandon her.
I'm sorry.
Alicia!
Finally, Alicia made the right decision. Victor and Luis took everyone to Mexico. When they came to the border, Victor told the group to hide in the cabin of the ship while he and Luis negotiated with them. After a few minutes of negotiation, the soldiers took a liking to the ship. Then shots rang out, and it sounded like a gunfight had broken out. The group rushed out, and Victor had driven the yacht through the border. However, 2 dead soldiers were found on the deck, along with Luis lying in a pool of blood. Victor led them towards their destination on land. Finally, they arrived at a peaceful estate, untouched by the apocalypse. Inside the well-protected walls of the estate, they found an abundant supply of fruits, vegetables, and even wind power, enabling them to be self-sufficient in the post-apocalyptic world. Travis and the others finally found a safe haven, and their tense emotions began to ease. Guided by the estate's servants, they let down their guard and brought out their weapons. Victor, on the other hand, was extremely anxious and was taken to a room by the woman in charge. And Victor finally meets the love of his life, Thomas. Thomas has a wound on his hand. He was bitten by a zombie some time ago. Victor's heart aches to know that Thomas doesn't have much time left. At this point, Chris is also a little embarrassed because before entering the manor, they encountered a zombie. Madison was jumped by a zombie, and Chris froze in his tracks. Alicia thought that Chris was deliberately trying not to save Madison. Alicia doesn't believe Chris' explanation. Chris loses his patience and threatens Alicia not to talk to anyone about the incident, and Alicia is clearly bluffed. Madison and Travis are in the middle of an argument over the incident. Travis thinks Chris is just a kid. Travis could tolerate Nick, but Madison couldn't forgive Chris. In the end, the couple decided to sleep in separate beds tonight. However, the whole manor has a weirdness to it that can't be explained. The owner of the estate turned out to be Victor's lover, Thomas. However, due to being infected by the zombie virus, the estate was actually under the control of Celia. Celia, the mother of Luis, who died on the yacht, showed no emotion upon hearing the news of her son's death. Daniel sensed that something was off. Later that night, Daniel investigated the estate on his own and witnessed a disturbing scene. A young boy threw a dog into a pipeline, and the dog's agonizing cries echoed. Upon following the boy, Daniel discovered him muttering to himself in a room. What shocked him was finding numerous zombies hidden throughout the seemingly peaceful estate. Then Daniel went to Celia's room to ask questions, only to realize that Celia is a complete psychopath. Celia believes that zombies are another form of human, and that as long as they don't get shot in the head, they'll stay alive. So, whenever someone in the estate fell seriously ill or got bitten by zombies, Celia used poison to make them die, thinking they could then stay with their loved ones forever. The pills on the plate now are for Thomas. That's a pretty sick idea. Celia later hummed a song while cleaning Thomas's face in his room and then asked Victor to administer the poison to him so that Thomas could continue his life in a different form. Victor looked at Thomas with deep affection on his face. He had made the decision to accompany Thomas to his death, but was rejected by Thomas. Meanwhile, Chris woke up in his bed and quietly called out to Alicia, intending to have a heartfelt talk and apologize to her. However, he noticed a dagger on the cabinet, as all weapons should have been confiscated. Suddenly, gunshots rang out. Madison and Alicia were awakened to see Chris standing next to the bed with a dagger. This situation seemed impossible to explain. Chris had no choice but to run away. The gunshots are Victor saying goodbye to Thomas because he doesn't trust Celia's methods. Victor believed this was the true way to let Thomas find peace, not as a walking corpse. This incident quickly stirred up commotion at the estate, and Celia angrily slapped Victor. If you were Victor, what would you do?